I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Today we're reading from the book of Jeremiah, chapter 30, and let's focus on verses 10 and 11. As for my servant Jacob, do not be afraid. This is the Lord's declaration. And do not be dismayed, Israel, for I will without fail save you from far away, your descendants from the land of their captivity. Jacob will return and have calm and quiet, with no one to frighten him. For I will be with you. This is the Lord's declaration, to save you. I will bring destruction on all the nations where I have scattered you. However, I will not bring destruction on you. I will discipline you justly, but I will by no means leave you unpunished. You know, in many Orthodox Jewish homes, whenever a family member chooses to follow Jesus as the Messiah, well, the family has a funeral for them. They tear their clothes, they weep, and they mourn for the required amount of time as if someone has died. And they do this because to the ultra-religious, following Jesus is apostasy. And they see a choice to follow Jesus as a choice against God and the Jewish community as a whole. So the community rejects the follower of the Messiah, Jesus. And this type of funeral communicates more than the death of a person. It signifies that they are dead and will not be seen in paradise when they are gone forever. It is meant to evoke shame within the heart of the apostate. And this must have been the way the Israelites in Babylon and their exile felt. They felt as if they had rejected following the Lord wholeheartedly by believing the words of Jeremiah and leaving the Jewish community in Jerusalem behind. And they were now suffering the consequences of betraying their faith in their minds and their people. Many had supplemented proper worship with idolatry, while others completely forsook the Lord. Either way, God is looking for wholeheartedness. Lukewarm faith is not saving faith at all. Jeremiah 29 verse 13, you will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. So today's passage bears a message of hope. God is telling the descendants of Jacob that they're not cursed. Their sin is not so great that there's no longer any means of salvation. If they would turn back to Him and obey His word, God promised to restore His people to the land of Canaan. It was not their righteousness that would trigger this restoration. Instead, Israel's return would be by God's grace through their faith in His word. Romans chapter 5, verses 6 through 8. For when we were still without strength, in due time, Christ died for the ungodly. For scarcely for a righteous man will one die, and yet perhaps for a good man someone will even dare to die. But God demonstrates His own love toward us, and that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. And that said, God's grace is seldom extended without His mercy nearby. Grace is getting something that you don't deserve, and mercy is not getting what you do deserve to the extent that you deserved it. But mercy comes with pain, to remind us not to sin that way again. Israel was not getting a free pass just because after 70 years they could return. People would die there, you know. People would die in captivity. And it wasn't a promise necessarily for most of the people who went into exile. It was a promise to their children and their children's children. God said His discipline was just, and Jacob would no longer avoid stern discipline. Still, compared to what the other nations underwent, Israel was shown great mercy. They were not completely destroyed. So let's thank God for His grace and for His mercy extended toward us through the Messiah, Jesus. I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Now, Groundworks Ministries operates entirely through financial donations from faithful people like you. And yes, we need your monthly support. Donating is secure and it's easy at our website, groundworksministries.com. And another way to help us is to just tell people about Groundworks Ministries. Share these podcasts with friends and family and on your social media. And of course, you can always direct folks to our website, groundworksministries.com.